Hey everyone, this is Joe with Insurance Toolkits. In this short video, I'm going to go over some of the product highlights of a brand new final expense product that launched just 2 days ago, Baltimore Life, iProvide, in collaboration with Heartland Financial, One Life America. So I'm going to be going over some of the details, where this product might fit into your bag, why you might want to consider picking it up if you do sell any final expense at all, or if you're just considering mixing in some final expense with your Medicare, ACA, any sort of other business that you already do. So to give a brief overview, I'm just going to run a basic quote here. So 65-year-old Ohio male looking for $15,000 non-smoker bank draft. So a very straightforward FE case. And we don't have to scroll too far down to get the rate here. So you can see it slots, for this case specifically, it slots right around Prosperity, Oxford, American Amicable, Royal Neighbors, Assurance, so all the carriers that you already know. The great thing about the product is you can align billing with the client's Social Security schedule, so first, third, or Wednesday, so that's great. And there are two products. So if you look in, well, two products for our purposes. If you look at the entry in the toolkit, you'll say it'll say 45 to 69. So there's actually two sets of underwriting questions. There's an additional set for clients over the age of 70. There's also an additional height-weight chart for clients over 70. So in our system, for our purposes, we do separate it out into two products. But for you as the agent, it's just one contract. Just keep in mind those different underwriting questions and different height-weight requirements. The toolkit will take care of it for you, but that's why we have it separated in the system. So to go over some of the basic details of the product, it's a 45 to 89 years old bracket for acceptance. For modified, you're going up to age 80, so it's a preferred standard modified product. The face amount ranges are very wide, so if we're looking at a client, this client in particular, we can run a quote as high as $50,000, which is something fairly uncommon. You can see here I have a lot of final expense carriers turned on, and there's only a handful here, only a few that are showing up. So one of the great things about Baltimore Life with this iProvide product is you can go up to $50,000. You can go as low as $2,500, which is great on all three of the products, preferred, standard, and modified. So you can go up to $50,000 through age 70 on the preferred product. On the standard, you can go up to $25,000, and on the modified, you can go up to $15,000. So pretty generous face amount ranges. It's going to fit in where most of your clients are going to look to get coverage in the FE space, so that's great. Now, in terms of some of the underwriting advantages to the product, I'm just going to read off a quick list here without putting them into the toolkit. But if you're looking for someone under 70, there's not an activities of daily living question. Now, if the person is on long-term disability for a chronic disease or illness, that is going to be a decline, and the toolkit will prompt for that. But if it's just ADLs, not a problem. It is AFib friendly, and for many heart conditions, they look at date of diagnosis. So as long as it's a heart rhythm disorder diagnosed over a year ago, you'll be fine for preferred. It's one of the only products in the industry that is preferred eligible potentially for COPD. So the criteria for that is that they can't smoke. So as long as you have a client who's a non-smoker, and there's a few other questions in the toolkit as well, you'll be fine for preferred. The interesting thing that Baltimore Life does, and this actually isn't explicitly published in the agent guide, is if you do have someone who is a COPD smoker, it just increases the offer of coverage, or decreases rather, by one tier. So if you have someone who's otherwise eligible for preferred, it'll knock the client down to a standard. If you have a client that's standard for some other reason, and they're a COPD smoker, it'll knock it down to modified, etc. So it's an increment, not a determination just based on that alone. They also do this for another plus tobacco, which is the diabetes plus tobacco. So if you have a diabetic who also smokes or uses tobacco, that will decrease a coverage offer by one tier based on whatever else the client would have been eligible for, whether that's standard. If it's modified, it would push it to a decline. So just keep those few things in mind. There are a number of underwriting rules that we put in the toolkit that are not explicitly disclosed in the agent guide or on the app, so make sure you are putting in your client's full health scenario, as you should be doing anyway, into the system so that you don't get caught up. We did work with Baltimore Life to get in a number of conditions that are not listed, quite a number in fact, or even alluded to on the app or in the guide. So a few other notes I wanted to make. It is cancer friendly to an extent, so if you have someone who's just in stage 1, again, this is all based on date of diagnosis, which the toolkit will ask. They're potentially eligible for preferred. If someone was at a stage 2, that's potentially eligible for standard, depending on a few other questions and criteria. The product is pretty diabetic friendly, in my opinion, as well. So if you have an insulin user who's under 50 units of insulin a day, that's preferred. It does base that slightly on the date of diagnosis when they were diagnosed with diabetes, but I think it's 25 as long as they're over 25. You're eligible for preferred, which is great. And other than that, you have some basic A1C questions, but it is diabetic complications friendly. So if you have someone with neuropathy, retinopathy, that's standard. If you have someone who's diabetic coma, insulin shock, that's standard eligible as well. Again, that plus tobacco requirement that I mentioned before still stands, but it's a pretty diabetic friendly product, which is great. And it is friendly to kidney disease for stages 1 through 3. So for 1 through 3, you're looking at standard. Anything beyond that, diabetic nephropathy, you're going to look at a decline. But for that stages 1 through 3, you're looking at standard, which is very useful because a lot of products will either rate kidney disease to a modified or even a decline in many cases. So a basic overview of this product. Number one, it's for all intents and purposes bundled in with their other 2 final expense products. A Priority, which is not a true final expense product in that sense of the term, but still kind of fits in with the same client base. Silver Guard, which is their long-standing FE product, and then you have the iProvide. So you kind of have something for everyone in their portfolio. You have very high face amounts that you can go up to, fairly liberal underwriting guidelines, especially with the diabetes and some of the other things that carriers can rate more harshly. So if you're looking to pick this product up, definitely contact your upline. It is one that you should consider. And when you go into the toolkit, just remember when you go into the Customize tab and you scroll down to Baltimore Life here, make sure you're turning on both products. So the iProvide 45 through 69 and the 70 plus. Again, we separate these just due to the different underwriting requirements and a few extra questions they ask on the 70 plus, but for your contract, your purposes, it's all the same product. So if you have any questions for us, leave a comment on this video. You can email us directly at support@insurancetoolkits.com. And as always, you can use the live chat support on the website for any immediate questions. Thank you.